Today is April 26, 2025. A significant tornado outbreak is looming as we go into Monday, April 28th. We're going to talk about that, the severe weather in the short term, and look at your early May forecast here in this video. So if you are here, again, this is the outbreak as we go into Monday, and this is a 4 out of 5 on the risk scale, and this goes to 5, right? So we're only one risk away from being at the highest risk we can get for severe weather on Monday, April 28th. So now is the time to like the video, give it a thumbs up, share this video with friends, family, and on social media. Folks, we need as many likes as we can get on the video to spread this information to more and more people. I really do appreciate it. If you want daily weather forecast breakdowns and analysis, this is the channel for you. So subscribe to the channel as well. So here in the red color, that is a moderate risk. That is a 4 out of 5. In the orange, a 3 out of 5. The yellow is a 2 out of 5. And the dark green is a 1 out of 5. We'll diagnose that a little bit more here in a couple minutes. But in the short term, we have some severe weather across the southern plains. In the yellow here in southern and southeastern Oklahoma, far north Texas, this is a 2 out of 5. In the dark green, that is a 1 out of 5 for severe weather. And notice we have a tornado threat here. In the green is a 2%, in a brown is a 5% chance of tornadoes within a 25-mile radius of any given point in or around this area. And as we go into the east, into the mid-Atlantic states, New Jersey, for example, southeastern Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, and eastern North Carolina, we have a 1 out of 5 on the risk scale in dark green there as well, mainly for a wind and a hail threat. The tornado threat over there is low. Now let's look at the timing of the storms back here over in the southern plains. We have a big line of storms from Oklahoma down into northwest Texas, going to be dropping southeast through the afternoon. Here's the noon hour going into the 3 o'clock time frame. These storms are going to be slow moving, but they could pose a risk for hail, wind, and tornadoes as we go through Oklahoma and into North Texas into the 3 o'clock hour. Here we go to 6 o'clock here this evening. Notice we got a couple supercell thunderstorms developing in similar areas to yesterday. Lubbock, up toward Amarillo, even into eastern New Mexico. We'll be watching for some large hail and some tornado threats over there, and then some tornado threats into the Dallas-Fort Worth area this evening. And then as we go into the overnight hours, a lot of these storms will kind of fizzle out. Any supercells in the Texas Panhandle will try to turn more southeast towards central Texas, so Abilene, those types of areas will be keeping an eye on you. The storms in Oklahoma will move into Arkansas overnight, and they will be on a weakening trend as they approach Little Rock and Pine Bluff. Now let's look here at the rainfall. These are going to be squeezing out, and we're going to be seeing the potential for a flash flooding threat, as these are going to be moving pretty slowly across southern Oklahoma and northwest Texas, what we know as the Red River Valley. And we could be seeing 1 to 3, even 4 inches worth of rain here. So quick runoff to area creeks, streams, low-lying, poor drainage areas. Definitely watching out for some flooding going through this evening. Now, how about across the east? With the 1 out of 5 over here in the mid-Atlantic, we got scattered storm activity here at noon. And as we go into the 3 o'clock hour, we're watching for that to really blossom with the peak daytime heating as the sun really starts to warm the surface of the ground. Then as we go to the 6 o'clock hour, a lot of this storm activity is actually off the coast very quickly here this evening. So it's mainly an afternoon and very early evening threat. I think a lot of these storms are off the coast by 6, 7 o'clock this evening. And that will put to bed our chance for severe weather over there. Now going into Sunday, tomorrow, April 27th, we have a large green area, dark green, that is a 1 out of 5. And the yellow, that is a 2 out of 5 up here in South Dakota, Nebraska, and northwestern Kansas. And there is a localized 2% chance of tornadoes across Nebraska, central and western Nebraska, west central Kansas, there into northeastern Colorado, and parts of the Oklahoma Panhandle there. That's a 2% chance of tornadoes within a 25-mile point of any given area in or around this area. And you can see as we go into tomorrow morning, this is 7 o'clock. Notice we got a lot of nothing happening. And then as we go into noon tomorrow, we have still nothing really happening on the radar. And then going into the afternoon, we're watching a dry line approaching from the west, from the Front Range into the western plains. This could ignite some supercells. Now, the HRRR model is not very excited in showing that tomorrow afternoon or evening, and that's because of a cap on the atmosphere And what a cap is basically it's warm at the surface, and it's also warm aloft around, 1,000, 2,000 feet or so above the Earth's surface. And if you have warm air at the surface and aloft, you're not going to get a lot of those bigger cumulonimbus clouds that produce thunderstorms and severe weather. You need cooler air aloft. You need a temperature inversion, a temperature displacement. And we're not seeing that here a lot on Sunday. So it's a conditional risk for severe weather. And I think the best coverage will be up here into the northern plains, closer to the low pressure system for that to develop. Even that is very conditional as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. How about temperatures this weekend? Very warm across the Gulf Coast, Florida and southern Georgia. We're talking 80s, low 90s out there. And as we go through this afternoon, some record highs will be possible in Louisiana, Gulfport, Mississippi, and Mobile, all the way over to Orlando tomorrow. Record highs will be possible, very hot into the 90s. And then looking at our big storm coming in early next week, for the weekend right now, that's coming in across California and Nevada, and it's actually spreading in quite a bit of moisture out here. In the green is rain, and the blue is snow. Notice you got snow in the higher elevations of the Sierras. You got heavier rains here in the foothills of California. That'll continue throughout the evening into the overnight hours and through much of the day on Sunday. A lot of the moisture, though, by Sunday night into Monday morning will be pushing more into the Rockies. You can see in the blue here, northern Rockies like Montana, western Wyoming, and Idaho. Down into Nevada, we're going to be seeing some snow. Lower elevations, seeing some rain and some thunderstorm activity going into your Monday morning time frame. As far as rainfall amounts are concerned out here, we're talking around an inch of rain, perhaps up into southern Montana, northwestern Wyoming, same deal here into Nevada. And as far as snow goes, looks like the heaviest snows into the Sierras. You go up in elevation, could be seeing 2, even 3 feet of snow there, and some heavier snow over a foot there in southern portions of Montana, northwestern Wyoming, and eastern Idaho as well. Now let's look at the low pressure system that is giving us all the unsettled weather across the west, because this is going to be a big deal as it continues to kind of ease its way eastward into the upper Midwest as we go into Monday, April 28th, and then into southeastern Canada on Tuesday, April 29th, and this is going to give us a tornado outbreak as we go into Monday, April 28th. In the red, that cherry red color, 4 out of 5 on the risk scale, and you only have one more risk category and you'll be at the max. So this is a pretty big deal as we go into Monday. And some of the big cities in the risk here, at least in the cherry red, we're talking Rochester, Minnesota, La Crosse, Prairie du Chien, Madison, Wisconsin, up towards Stevens Point, back here into Dubuque, Iowa, Waterloo, Cedar Rapids, and Des Moines. You're all included in that moderate risk, 4 out of 5. In the orange, we're talking the Minneapolis-St. Paul area over to Green Bay, Duluth, up there into the UP of Michigan, Rockford, Illinois, the Quad Cities, back to Kansas City and Topeka, a large area even up into Omaha as well. In that orange area, that is a 3 out of 5. The yellow is a 2 out of 5, and the dark green is a 1 out of 5 on the risk scale. The closer to 5 you are, the better the environment will be for severe weather. Notice the hatched area here from northwest Texas all the way up to Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri, and eastern Kansas. That is actually for the significant severe weather potential, including the threat for strong to intense and even long track tornadoes as we go into Monday, 60 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts and some large hail over 2 inches in diameter in that area. Why are we seeing this? Well, look at the dew points. We're in the mid 60s here on Monday afternoon all the way up to the Twin Cities. So this is an upper Midwest event as well. And you can see our instability. This is your storm energy, right? If the storm gets going, it's going to tap into all this energy. The higher the number, the higher the amount of energy for thunderstorms to work with. Notice we got those 3,000s, even locally 4,000s joules per kilogram up there into Iowa, Missouri, and even into Kansas, a little bit higher further to the south as you can expect in Texas. Now, not only do you need moisture in storm energy as well, but you need wind shear to keep these storms going and keeping them strong here as we go even into the overnight hours. And notice we got a very strong jet streak across this region, overspreading that warm, moist sector here of the storm. And that's over 80 knots. So this is going to be a very strong jet stream. So Monday morning, here's the timing of the storms. We got a warm front lifting north. This could give us a couple of supercells, mainly for hail. These are going to be elevated storms, mainly along and north of the warm front in Minnesota, Iowa, and portions of Wisconsin. And then as we go in towards Monday afternoon, we got a lull in the activity by midday. This is 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We're heating the surface. We're getting the environment unstable for severe weather. And here comes the cold front and the triple point, right? right? The triple point is the low pressure system, the warm front, and the cold front coming together for the potential of some enhanced wind shear. And notice that's really maximized in that moderate risk area. And you see these individual kind of popcorn looking storms. Those are supercells, and each one of them could be capable of producing strong, intense, and long track tornadoes along with some damaging winds. The damaging wind threat will increase in eastern Iowa as this turns into more of a squall line as we go into the evening hours, 6, 7 o'clock there Monday evening. More supercellular activity, more isolated the further south you go because there's a cap on the atmosphere. And that squall line will take a run at areas like Rockford, the Quad Cities, Madison, Milwaukee, and Chicago, crossing Lake Michigan there, and by the time they reach Michigan and Indiana, a lot of these storms will be on a weakening trend there in the wee hours of the morning on Tuesday. Now going into Tuesday, April 29th, we have another large area of a 2 out of 5 here in the yellow, stretching from all the way up into northwestern Vermont and New York State, upstate New York that is, all the way back to North Texas here. So big cities in the mix: Dallas, Fort Worth, Little Rock, St. Louis, Indianapolis, Louisville, and Evansville, Paducah, up here into Detroit, Columbus, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, New York, all the way up to near Albany, New York. So we have a lot of big cities there, millions of people at the risk of severe weather on Tuesday. Same setup, dew points in the 50s and 60s here, instability or your storm energy over 2,000 joules per kilogram, and you have the strongest flow is a little bit further north toward the southern Great Lakes region. That's where the enhanced wind shear could help for potentially some tornado potential and damaging wind potential as well. So here's Tuesday morning. Any leftover storms from Monday night will continue to weaken, but as we go into the afternoon, a renewed storm activity on a scattered basis will be developing Tuesday afternoon and evening with damaging winds, large to very large hail, and a couple of tornadoes. A strong tornado cannot be ruled out here. Notice more of North Texas, Oklahoma here having more coverage of storms. That's where maybe an enhanced risk of severe weather could be introduced in later outlooks. We'll keep an eye on that. So rounds of storms here as we go into early next week will provide the threat for heavy rainfall as well, so flash flooding will be elevated from the Ohio Valley, parts of the Northeast, into the southern plains. And this means a couple of inches of rain. So you can see down here in southeastern Kansas, Missouri, southern Illinois, Oklahoma, North Texas, even parts of Arkansas seeing 1 to 3 inches worth of rain here. And then going to the east, areas like Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, up into Pennsylvania, New York State, all the way up into portions of Vermont. We are seeing over an inch of rain there, with many places actually over 2 or 3 inches going through early next week. Now the pattern does change as we go into the first week of May. We have a ridge of high pressure that's going to build across the northern Rockies and the northern plains, and that means a lot of sinking air. So lots of sunshine will return to the weather forecast up there, and that will heat the ground up. We have low pressure down toward the Baja of California and over here into the Northeast. That will promote cooler temperatures in closer proximity to that trough over there. So you can see the trough in the Northeast, a trough over here in the Baja of California, and then the ridge with surface heating very strong across portions of the northern U.S. and the southern Canadian prairies. And then you can see with the ridge, you're not going to see a lot of moisture, right? The moisture is going to be cut off from the eastern Pacific and the Gulf from getting up into the plains and the Midwest. So once we see early next week storms go by, we're going to be drying out across those areas. Near the trough over here in the Northeast, we're going to be seeing some rainfall activity, and then the same deal over here in West Texas with possibly some dry line severe weather setups and heavier rainfall setups as well. Just like we saw the other day across Lubbock, Amarillo, down to Midland there, even Albuquerque, New Mexico, and the Front Range getting in on that activity there in early May. Well, thank you all for watching. Make sure to like the video, very important. Give it a thumbs up. Share this video with friends, family, and on social media. Comment below and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next update.